Hey everyone, Jacob from Ascend Consulting here. I want to talk to you today about the power of core behaviors in your business and taking those core values that you had and transforming those into action and really creating some clarity for your employees. Core values, what we've learned through working with a lot of businesses is that those core values just aren't enough. So often they're created, they're thrown on the wall, but they're not actionable and livable, and they lack the clarity that your employees need to really understand and give them guidelines of how you expect them to act. So we often talk about clear is kind, and our goal here is just make sure that those values become very clear by making them behaviors and telling employees how we expect them to behave, not just what their values should be. So as we think about what is a core behavior, it is that actionable expression of a core value. So if your core value might have been integrity, an example would be we always tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. So this really tells the employee that we expect them to tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. So you may have multiple core behaviors for integrity, but we are telling them how we expect them to act in different situations. And that is really critical to giving them the clarity that they need. So the impact of those core behaviors, what we see happening when we change over to those core behaviors are, they now have an increased accountability because they know exactly how they're expected to act. It increases trust across the teams because they know how other people are going to act. We see consistency in decision making because they know what's expected of them. So that can really help an organization move forward in the right way. So some signs that your business needs it is those inconsistent decision making, some unclear accountability, some ambiguous team expectations. Those are all symptoms of not having clarity around how employees should act. And this is where we love bringing those core behaviors in and really giving them that clarity that they need. So as we think about how do you develop core behaviors? Well, for us, it is really taking some of those core values and aligning them with your purpose. We're a big believer in companies having a purpose, probably even bigger than your old mission statement, but really saying, what is our purpose of being here? Not what do we do? That's how you apply your niche, but like, why are we here? Why did this business get created? What is it serving? What's our purpose in the world? And having that defined really helps when you come to core behaviors. But we also encourage you, these should be things that are being lived in your organization today. So involve your team in the creation of them. Have them help you say, what are those core behaviors to us? And then our most important test that we do and say, is this really a core behavior to us? Is would you fire someone if they didn't live up to this core behavior? If they did something contrary to it, would you fire them? If not, it's probably not a core behavior to you. So be realistic on this. We see this so often that core values and core behaviors are created that aren't real and they're just there on the wall. If you're not living by them and hiring and firing based upon them, then they shouldn't be there. And you should find ones that you would hire and fire by and make those your core behaviors. So, some examples that we've seen of effective core behaviors inside of companies is be fanatic about response time. So, instead of just saying your core value is responsive, be fanatic about it. That tells you how you should act, not that we just be responsive, that we need to be fanatic about it. It's a completely different behavior that we're driving with those wordings and having it be a sentence. Leave your ego at the door. Very different than the core value of humble, because it really tells people, hey, they have to leave the ego there. It changes the perception of what that is. View the world through another's eyes really takes empathy and says, what are we doing with those? How are we stepping into that other person's shoe and viewing it through their eyes instead of just acting the way we feel things would be? So really makes those values that you had before actionable in those ways. So as always, when you have core behaviors or anything in your company, you really have to reinforce those consistently. And how do you do that? Well, you integrate it into your hiring and firing. We talked about that a little before. You have regular performance evaluations where you bring these up. And then you also publicly recognize and reward people for adhering to those. And that's really powerful as you make sure that you integrate these into your business. One real life example that we've seen do a really good job of Zappos. Most people know them as the shoe company, but they have a core behavior of deliver wow through service. And so when you're delivering wow, that's very different than just a value of great customer service. Well, what does great customer service mean? Well, now we have a way when an employee is serving a customer, they can ask themselves, am I delivering wow? And that is a very different perspective than am I delivering good customer service? It just sets the benchmark, really makes it actionable to deliver that wow to your customers. So obviously, with anything, you have to regularly review and update them. So make sure you're consistently looking at your organization and saying, do our behaviors align with our organization, or has our organization changed? So review those consistently, make sure they're relevant and aligned to it. So we really encourage you to go and get these core behaviors for your organization. If you need help developing those, feel free to reach out. We are happy to engage and help you to develop these in your organizations and see that improvements in your business by doing it. So we're happy to help in that way. We look forward to helping you build a better future for you, your family, and your business. Thank you for your time today.